Something you may want to do is replace a letter from your word with an object. So let's say if I had Sherlock Holmes, and I want to replace this O with a magnifying glass. Now, that could be really cool. Let's talk about how to do it. The first thing I want to point out is why I'm choosing this O over this one, and it's because this is a shorter word, and I think that it will look more balanced if I give this more space than I make the differences between the two words even bigger. Okay, so how am I going to do this? The first thing I'm going to do is make this into an object. That will make it so it's easier to edit. So we just go to Object. No, we don't. We go to Type. And see, here's a problem that I'm having. I have this selected, like I want to change type, or like change something about the type, but really I want to change I want to create outlines. So it needs to be selected with the selection tool, not with the type tool. So we go to Type, Create Outlines, and now we have our outlines. Okay, so let's look here, and we see that this is grouped. We can ungroup it if we want to. Another way that we can do this, keeping it grouped is convenient because you usually do move this together. So instead of ungrouping it, which is what I did in the last video, I'm going to show you another way around this. So if you double click here, you'll see this white bar, or it's not really white, it's a lighter gray bar. That shows that we are now inside the group. This is called isolation mode, and now we can select this as normal. So I'm going to move this away, and I'm not going to delete it yet because, I might still want it, and I like having the security of having it there. So I'm going to get rid of that, and now I'm going out of isolation mode. So we have Sherlock Holmes minus an O. What I want to do is put a magnifying glass there, and there are two things that we could do. I can either make one from scratch, or I can try to find one that already exists that might be easier and save me some time. So I'm going to go to Google Images, and my first instinct is always just to go is to find an image to trace in case that's the easiest thing. Because sometimes I often find that making my own images is easier than trying to find something online, and then I get to make it more specific to my actual preferences. So I just pasted this in, and excuse me, I want to resize it because obviously this is too big, and I'm going to hold down Shift so I can constrain the proportions. I also want this to be on its own layer. I think that'll make it easier. See, we have this white box and it's covering stuff. So I'm going to make another layer, layer 2, and I'm going to drag layer 2 underneath layer 1. I'm going to select this object. I'm going to cut it by holding down Command X or Control X if you have a PC. Then I select layer 2, and now I've pasted my magnifying glass onto layer 2. Okay, and I'm placing this over here. Now, I do think that it might be easier to move things around because I kind of want to nudge these letters around. Also, let me lock this. So I am going to ungroup this. To ungroup it, I can either know where ungroup is, or conveniently, if you don't know where something is, you can go to Help and type it in, and Illustrator will show you where to find it. So you go to Object, Ungroup. Now I've ungrouped these things so I can move them around at my leisure. I'm going to select all of these, including the S, so I'm holding down Shift to now select the S as well, and I'm just scooching them over. And now I'm going to unlock my magnifying glass, select all of this stuff, and scooch it over as well. There we go. And now it says Sherlock Holmes. See, this is why I didn't want to use this O, because this, I think, looks more balanced. I also feel like this is, even though this is what it was naturally, I'm just going to scooch these things over as well, just to tighten up my spacing. Okay, the next step would be to make a new magnifying glass. This is a very simple shape. Not all shapes are equally simple. So I'm just going to show you what I would do to approach this. What I would do is make a circle, I would hold down Shift to make a perfect circle. I would change this from black to being like basically any other color just so I could see better. I then want to make another ellipse, so I'm going to click. I'm going to hold down Shift, drag out another circle, and I'm going to put this one in front. So you can hit V to get the selection tool. This seems good to me. Maybe this could be a little bit bigger, so I can hold down Shift again to resize it. Okay, now that I have these two in front of each other, well, the orange in front of the blue, I can select them both. And I have the original magnifying glass that I'm copying locked, so that way I can scroll over these two and not worrying about accidentally selecting it. Now if I scroll down over here, I can find my Pathfinder options. This one will minus front. And now I have this great magnifying glass head. I can even make a little glint reflection in a similar way. I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to hit V to get my move tool and just scooch that over. I can make it another color just so I can see what will be left behind. And now I'm going to select both of these and minus front. Now I'm left with this nice reflective thing. Okay, and now I want to make my handle. So I'm just going to use my rectangle tool. Now I'm just using, for this shape, this very simple magnifying glass, using the preset regular like polygon shapes. This is working out pretty well for me, and I'm not having much trouble. Some of your shapes, like a hatchet, might be more complicated than what I'm doing. And what I'm doing right now is I'm using the anchor point, the convert anchor point, or just regular anchor point tool to give this shape a little more depth at the bottom. And I'm going to call that a day. I know it's not in the same place, but I think that this will look better. Now I'm going to make both of these. I'm going to make all three of these black, so I'm going to choose black. That's a very gray black, and that's because it is not all the way at 100. That is bad, so let me fix it. And this I'm actually going to make gray, so that way it looks more like glass. So let's choose a nice gray. Okay, so, and if I turn off this eyeball, now we have this terrific spyglass, magnifying glass thing, replacing my O, and that looks really great. And that was an easy shape to make, but what if you have a more complicated shape? So I want to show you another option, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in its own video, which will be in the graphic images video, but I want to show you another thing we can do. We can also get stock vector images to place into this spot. So how are we going to do that? You're going to go to stock photos. Now, stock photos, if you go to their the Adobe stock photo website, you can get a subscription. This would be on top of your Creative Cloud subscription to get all of their stock photos. I do not think that is necessary. It is definitely not necessary for this class. So what I would encourage you to do is go to their free section. They have lots of options in their free section, and this is where you should start your search. So what I'm going to search is magnifying glass. Now I'm just going to go here and see what they offer me for free. I'm going to filter just for vectors. Vectors are those graphic images that you see. So like this would be a vector image. I could license this for free, and then I wouldn't have had to make that shape that I just traced. I don't really like this so much. I think this is too thick. So let's see if I can find something else. I really like this one, and you can see that I've already licensed it because I like it. This is another one that I actually like, so why don't I try using this one? This one is similar to the one that I had, but it is nicer and more detailed. So it's saving to my library. Excellent. And it just got downloaded. I can just open this right up by double-clicking it, hit yes, and it just opens up this magnifying glass right here. Let's look at it. It is grouped together, just like the text was when I traced it. So what we can do is ungroup it. So that's Command-Shift-G or Command-Control-G. And now that I've ungrouped it, I can also change all of the colors, which is ideal. That's exactly what I want to be able to do. So just for the sake of this, let's just do this in grayscale. So I'm going to start off, that's going to be black. This is a light color, so let's do that. This is slightly darker, let's make that. This should be black, just like the rim. That's already gray. And let's make this kind of dark. Okay, excellent. We just got a magnifying glass in a fraction of the amount of time, and I'm going to now copy this into my text right into this other document right here by holding down Command. So I just selected everything by dragging over it, then I hit Command-C, then I went to my other document, now I'm going to hit Command-V. It's enormous. I'm going to obviously need to resize this. I'm going to hold down Shift to constrain the proportions, and I'm also going to hold Option. That will make it resize towards the center, and that's just going to make it go a little faster. Okay, now I can put it in place. I can rotate it. I can again make it smaller. And really I can just make it basically anything that I want it to be. Once I have it, once it's licensed, I can just edit it however I want. I could even move points around if I want to change it in some way. This was basically perfect, so I don't have to change it. But what's great is that I can. So what I want you to do, if you want to, let's say, find a shape for your own project, is go to Adobe Stock and go to their free section and see what they have before you try doing anything else. It could save you a lot of time and energy.